What a comeback. This will be one of those comebacks that people speak about. Should Arsenal be lifting a trophy, say, such as the Premier League at the end of the season? I get it. Like, there are going to be plenty of people who go, hey, you came back against Bournemouth. Hey, Bournemouth scored an early goal. You had the time. Hey, it's not, I mean, sure, there is the nature of the comeback. And we often talk about, like, the way that a game is played, how, whether it's more than a result and, whether Arsenal really should be playing better than that, playing worse than that, whether they should take it to heart, all these kind of things. There are all these different factors that play into the feelings around Arsenal right now. But I'm so sure that in years to come, they will talk about the revolution that happened under Mikel Arteta and how different things were compared to even just a couple of years before, when there was an idea and a culture of decline. There was an idea and culture of, things are going wrong here. And there was almost a resistance to change because there had been this idea that change post Arsene Wenger would be so cataclysmic, so different, and so painful that there was almost a collective resistance to that change, right? It was like, hey, if we're going to change, we've got to do it right. So we're not going to change under this manager because that's not the right avenue. So when Mikel Arteta came in, I'm sure there was this feeling of process. We have to follow that process of getting Mikel Arteta the resources that he needs to change the club and put it in the right direction. But one of the first things he did, and I cited this at the start of the season, was get an Arsene Wenger quote up on the wall. He was standing on shoulders of a giant, or giants that had gone before that, or invincible giants that had gone before that. And what was so interesting about what you saw today was, even a season ago, you would have doubted whether Arsenal were capable of coming back from the position they were in. Hey, it's just not your day, mate. Bournemouth scored within 10 seconds, and then they went on and scored a second before you even got your first. In fact, you had a penalty that was checked, wasn't given by VAR. You then had another penalty check, wasn't given by VAR. You then had another penalty check at 2-2, wasn't given by VAR. And there are plenty of times, I'm sure, that the Arsenal fans, especially at the Emirates, could be thinking to themselves, oh, here we go. Back to the old days, back to what it was before. We've heard this earlier in the season. VAR is against us in the first place. Bad decision made here. It's just the system that's against us. It's just not our day. And hey, maybe we're meant to lose. City got an easy walk through Newcastle result. But we're going to struggle against Bournemouth. And maybe that 2-point gap, which is maybe something that Arsenal fans should mentally begin to expect at some point, needs to be what we rest on at the moment. Maybe 5 points is a bit much to ask. But no, not for this Arsenal side. First of all, you get one goal back, right? You got a nice little second, makes it the equaliser. Sure, what I really like about it is that it came from people you wouldn't necessarily expect to be scoring those goals within the team. And especially Ben White, who came on as a substitute, right? I mean, I'm sure Ben White's always had a goal in him, but I spoke so much in my last video about Arsenal, about the attack, about the box that was just behind that, or that really, I didn't really speak about the box. I spoke about the 3 and then the 2 just behind that, right? But that was formed by that box that John McKenzie broke down so well on Tifo earlier in the week, and how empowering that is, how Zinchenko was helping drive that forward line, that middle, just push everything further up the field, really making a back 3 for Arsenal they can push into. And what I love about that, and what I love about this comeback is, they then bring a substitute on that so many people were doubting in the first place, and so many people went, okay, is this really squad depth? Bringing on Reiss Nelson, he's a young guy. There's maybe shades of Divock Origi in there in a sense, where it's like, you know what? Do we really? Are we really bringing it? I'm sure now in retrospect we can say, oh yeah, I expect him to score. Not many other people did though. And you know what? I don't doubt that Reiss Nelson is a huge talent. In fact, it was a really well taken goal, really well struck goal, and there's a reason why you bring people on like that at that point, right? But there is just such a likability about this Arsenal team. There is such an adaptability, and now it feels like there is much more depth. Trossard started the game, 22 minutes, he goes off, obviously not planned, and then Emile Smith-Rowe comes on. How are you meant to play then? What are we meant to do at that point? I'm sure that Emile Smith-Rowe is, again, a capable player. I'm sure that having Martinelli in the middle or being able to rotate people out wide is a good thing. But it felt as if it was going to frustrate Arsenal, as if something was just... Bournemouth were just sitting back and just going, you know what, just keep coming because we're good. Like, we're just going to keep dealing with this. And there are going to be sides, I said this earlier in the season, who work out Arsenal and then just go, you know what, we're just going to let you do your thing. Arsenal had more shots, they had more possession, they were at home at the Emirates, and But yeah, Bournemouth just wanted to come and frustrate them. But again, it's not just down to just one guy in the team. In fact, Granit Xhaka wasn't even starting the side. You could say that Thomas Partey took a lot of the responsibility today in midfield in terms of anchoring it, and he really did. But at the same time, you didn't have Xhaka on, who's, I think, at the moment, probably the closest thing to a club captain that you have outside of Odegaard. I think his redemption story is such, and at one point he was seen as that kind of leading figure, and he still is. But outside of Odegaard, he is seen as one of those other leaders on the field. And then having Partey on, who, he's been in and out with Jorginho coming in, and Arsenal trying to move things forward. Whether there are more plans, I don't know, Arsenal to move things, but you see what I'm saying here. Like, there is rotation at the midfield, and Fabio Vieira is very much seen as a change in the midfield. He's maybe a bit more of a progressive player. They wanted to put it onto Bournemouth rather than let Bournemouth sort of just sit, and maybe Vieira is a slightly better player to be able to unlock there. You can see Saka was getting frustrated. Again, I love watching Saka get frustrated because something good is coming not long after that. You can also see when another side knows Arsenal and Saka are getting frustrated, and they really love to play on that, especially when they're at the Emirates. So again, another mental hurdle that they've made it through. And again, another thing that people probably would have doubted at the beginning of the season with this Arsenal side. Loads of people who just go, you know what, those are games that Arsenal just don't win. Yep, that's the difference between them and winning the league. I've said it. I said it in my previous video earlier this week. They are currently 27? 7 results away from their previous Arsenal season. That's 21 points difference. Is that not mad to you? And now it's probably even more. The difference is huge. And I get it. Like, they're ahead in their timeline. They're ahead in the story here. But surely as Arsenal fans, you just embrace that and you go, okay, well, let's just add to this team. They might be exhausting themselves. They might be tired. There is a lot of emotional withdrawal, like a lot of emotional draw here, I'd imagine, for a lot of what is going on for Arsenal right now. Huge anxiety around the stadium for a long time, not only for the fans, but also for the players. But Mikel Arteta seems to have real faith in this team right now. And despite things and the plan not going well, Bournemouth scored, by the way, within 10 seconds, we see an Arsenal win again. And of course, it's a late winner. It's like 96, 97. Yeah, it was 96 on the clock, the 97th minute. Like, maybe you don't always get those opportunities. Maybe a draw was something Arsenal needed to settle for, and it was going to be 3 points difference instead of the 5. This is going to be like an accordion now for the rest of the season. They're going to close in. Arsenal may pull away. There may even be a time where they pull ahead, and then Arsenal have to pull it back. That's not like an accordion. You can't do that in an accordion. But you get my point. There is going to be a narrowing and an expanding of that gap, so to speak. And Arsenal fans are going to have to get used to it. That's part of a title race, especially part of a title race when a Man City team are kind of coming back into it. They kind of get back into their stride now. There is an element of sort of enjoying themselves. And you can kind of see that Pep is sort of going, hey, there is something on here. Maybe they'll go for the Champions League, who knows? But Arsenal need to weather some of these storms, and they certainly have so far. I spoke about the grind of March, and March for most teams is a grind. There aren't many huge games outside of, say, the one tomorrow with Liverpool, Man City. And I get, like, every Arsenal game is big, but you get my point. Liverpool, Man United tomorrow. But every Arsenal game is big, but you get my point. Like, there's more to this, should we say, in March. It's not about the big grandstanding games. Those come in April. I've been through those. But the ones in March, grind. You've got Sporting Lisbon in there as well. There is going to be a big test of the rotation within this team. And actually, they did rotate. I spoke about that depth the other day, but Fabio Vieira starts in this one. You've then also got someone like Emile Smith-Rowe coming on for Trossard. I kind of like this weird, like, substitute thing they keep doing at right back. I'm trying to work out exactly what it does. I'd love to know what someone thinks in the comments. Do you think there is something going on at right back where they go Tomiyasu, Ben White? Are they doing the same thing? Is this an indication to the team? Is there different execution when Ben White's on the field as compared to Tomiyasu? I felt like Tomiyasu was slightly more advanced. I obviously feel like Ben White's a slightly more... He's not defensive, but he is a defensively capable player. But Tomiyasu also has some good recovery skills. So I would actually be interested to know what Arsenal fans think at this point of Tomiyasu and those kind of guys, and the rotation between those two, what you think of it as a signal, how the team react to it, all these kind of things. And then finally, Zinchenko again. Zinchenko actually didn't have one of his best games today, but the box is that current thing that people are sort of focusing on. Without Zinchenko in this team, and I get Partey and Xhaka and Vieira and Odegaard are very key, but there is a box there in that midfield, right? Without Zinchenko, this whole thing doesn't work. That's mad. I mean, I know they've gone games without him, but you could sort of see when they missed him, right? So I'm sure there's people who are going to stick it on him come the end of the season. I'm sure that we'll probably see some tackles if Zinchenko plays in that Man City game, and I'm sure that there are going to be techniques that people come up with for building against that numeric overload that the box affords you in the midfield, right? Like, you know, every team seems to be doing it right now. So there's got to be a way to build against it, and there's got to be. Surely you just put wingers out there. And I guess that's kind of what Bournemouth tried to. But you get my point. Like, the Bournemouth almost tried the Sean Dyche approach there, which is to stretch Arsenal out a little bit, try and exploit some of those spaces where Zinchenko is not, or where Tomiyasu is getting exploited, which is partly a problem, I imagine, why Ben White came on. And, you know, there are going to be sides that feel like they worked Arsenal out. But that's when you're going to call on your guys who aren't your normal goal scorers, who aren't part of that front five, obviously apart from Reiss Nelson at the end, to come score you goals. So let me know, who's your rate highest in this game? Who is most key? And finally, why is no one ever mentioning Ramsdale? I think he's great. He's made some great saves throughout this season. Maybe it's because he made those sort of really dramatic saves before, so people didn't really want to give him that acknowledgement, I guess. But he needs more acknowledgement, especially in terms of his command of the box right now. I think it's fantastic. Maybe this is not a good game to pick it out because Bournemouth obviously scored 2, but he still deserves credit. Like, conceding goals isn't always a goalkeeper's fault. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll chat to you guys in a while. Much love. Bye.